CardsTV, talking lacrosse with head coach Kelly Young. I'm Sean Moth. Good to see you again. And we talked about the big matchup, the 18th ranked Cards, 7th ranked Stanford Cardinal. And through the early going, you guys were hanging tooth and nail with them. They got a late goal at the end of the first half, got a few goals to start of the second half, and it seemed like that was a little more than your team could overcome, although that didn't stop them from trying.
We talked a lot about pregame, the fight Stanford was going to bring, how consistent they were, and that they were going to score goals. It was our job to overcome that. Unfortunately, we were giving them opportunities to do what they do really well. And that goal at the end of the first half definitely pulled the rug out of us a little bit, because it wasn't what they do. It was a one-on-one, one of our senior defenders, brain farting a little bit for lack of a better phrase, but she's a great defender, and so we needed to get her back on her footing because we needed her on the field, and she finished out pretty well. The rest of the game was us doing it to ourselves, and I give Stanford a ton of credit again. They earned the win, but we would turn the ball over and then take a shot or try to split a double team. So there were a lot of lessons that we came out of that game learning, but very proud of the team for fighting for 60 minutes.
This is not the first time I've talked on a coach's shows about coaches have a lot of qualities, but patience is typically not one of them. And as a team in just its 4th year trying to beat the 7th ranked team in the country, are you still at a point where you're allowing yourself to remind yourself that that's where we're at, or are those days completely done?
Those days are done, and anytime it starts to seep in, I remind myself that I've had this group for 4 years, so they really should be able to execute on the field. I do remind myself that there's not that history, that tradition, that, hey, we've beaten them before, we can get this done.
Right.
But we have a very talented senior class that needs to believe in themselves for 60 minutes.
Sure. Is there anybody in particular that stood out in that match against Stanford?
Emily DeShiel is still doing a wonderful job on the draw. You know, for her, it was great to be able to watch a video in that she fought at the end of that game for draws like I've never seen before.
One
And as hard as she was working in the beginning, she saw a whole second gear at the end. And our defensive unit in the first half was pretty solid. There wasn't any certain one person that stood out, but we just need to make sure that that happens for 2 halves.
It would be easy to come back on Sunday and have a letdown against Cincinnati, and knowing the Bearcats situation in their infancy, that I hate to call it a Super Bowl for them, but you know that would be a huge milestone for them to beat you guys here, especially with that national ranking next to your title. But you guys, for the most part, take care of business, even though late it kind of flipped the script. They were picking and scratching. You guys were able to hold on.
They are a very feisty team. We did the best we could to prepare our team for that. That, you know, even the games that we had seen where the scores had been mismatched, it wasn't because they weren't fighting, and we had to be prepared for that. But as much as our coaching staff can try to convince 18 to 22-year-olds of that, when they see a 15-6 score or a 20-2 score, you know, I think it was a little bit hard for them. But Cincinnati did exactly what our staff thought they were going to do. They fought. They did a great job on finishing. They executed on mistakes that we had made. But again, we have a great ability to put the ball in the back of the net, and in the end, that's what saved the day for us.
And I guess the bottom line is you have a 7-1 team, 1-0 in Big East play, which is crucial. And was there anybody against Cincinnati in particular that stood out? I know looking at the stat sheet, Liz Lovejoy not only scored some goals, but got after it in winning some balls in the draw control.
I would say that was the piece that would stand out the most for me, because those draws, one, she hasn't been consistent on that, and that's not a bad thing. She's behind the line, so that's huge for her to come up with that many. But it was so powerful and really kept our fight, our spark going in that game. But overall, you know, it's a game that I look back on, and I wouldn't want to blow too much smoke anybody's way, because we needed to clean up. And if we want to win the Big East championship, we've got to do a better job against every team that we face.
As you tune up for Big East play, and the end of the season will be all Big East teams after this week, you have Vanderbilt on Wednesday, which they just beat Stanford, so we know what they're capable of. And then you have Ohio State on Sunday. And so 2 non-conference opponents that'll be great test for you and your squad heading into Big East play.
It's the best preparation for going into Big East, because they're both different in how they play, but very quick, very powerful, have the ability to score. Ohio State's a little bit like Cincy, a little bit more established, obviously very much more established, but some of their games, they just haven't been finishing. So it's our job to limit the quality of their shots, but we know they can score. So in both these games, our attack is going to play a big role in us keeping momentum, but our defense is going to be what wins the game for us.
Clearly 2 wins is what Coach wants to get out of this weekend, but outside of that, going into Big East, what do you want your team to accomplish in these last 2 non-conference games?
To know who we are, what we can and can't do, or knowing our strengths and weaknesses. You know, we don't look at this team to say, hey, we're good at everything. We have to know what we're good at and get better at the things that are in our strengths. So we need to get better at assessing what a defense is bringing to us and making the adjustments. Oftentimes the players are looking to the sideline and asking Ann and Matt and myself to solve it for them, which we can do, obviously, but those are lost seconds. So we want them to become students of the game and be able to assess right on the spot. For them to honor matchups that they're in on the defensive end, but also have anybody be able to play those players at any time so that it really is a team defensive effort. And again, playing for 60 minutes. Playing at our highest level, most intense level for 60 minutes.
It's only in athletics you can see Commodores and Buckeyes in a week, and we wish you and the team best of luck. And we encourage you fans to come on out and support the team as they play these matches here just behind us at the U of L Lacrosse Stadium. Thanks again for joining us, Kelly. Good luck to you and the team.
Thank you.
For Kelly Young, I'm Sean Moth. We'll talk to you next week right here on Cards TV.